Well, today I'm going to review Luca. It's the newest Pixar movie. In it, Luca is the titular character. He's a merman or something. Or they actually, you know what they look like? They look like the pictures of sea monkeys that you have on the packet, but not what sea monkeys actually look like. But if they were the size of a human. In this movie, Luca is kind of an underwater farmer. He's actually a sheep farmer, even though they're not really sheep. He's a fish farmer, but they baa like sheep. But one day Luca's out exploring and he runs into another person about his age, or another fish person, another sea monkey person. He teaches Luca that the fishmen can go on the surface, and when they do, they turn into humans, essentially. And they want to get a Vespa, and they figure out that they have to do this race to get a Vespa, because Luca essentially runs away from home in order to be on land and do stuff with this other guy. His name's Eduardo. I forget now. And they're in an Italian village, and this movie obviously has a lot of Italian influences. But since Luca ran away from home, his mom and dad come out of the ocean to follow him, and they're also having problems because they've never been human before, and they've never come on land before. Oh, and Luca and Eduardo, or whatever his name was, meet this girl who also wants to do the race, and they team up to do the race together, but they're also helping her father, who's a fisherman. Everyone in the town's looking for sea monsters, which Eduardo kind of did at the beginning of the movie, scared everyone in his fish form. Not on purpose. He didn't jump out and go blah. So there's some kind of tension there because they're all hiding out in town, and everyone in town is trying to hunt down these sea monsters. That's the plot, more or less. Won't try to spoil too much for once. But this movie was pretty good all around. I wouldn't say it's as good as some of Pixar's best, like any Toy Story movie or Finding Nemo or a bunch. But I'd say it's a pretty good of their I don't know, second tier, I'd say. I'd say it's second tier Pixar. It's there with Bug's Life and others. No, I'm not thinking or the Incredibles sequel, which wasn't as good as the first one. First Incredibles A tier. This is B tier, or second Incredibles B tier. This is probably on par with that. Maybe a little better. Actually, Luca I might say is B plus, just because it's got a lot of the heart that you find in the A tier, I guess. I don't know why I'm tiering things like this. Oh, come here, kitty. Oh, cat time. Lap time, nap time. This is a very enjoyable film. It's very adventurous and has a lot of fun and funny parts, which I always appreciate in any movie, really. Even if it's a drama. Well, is it funny? It's a tragedy. But is it funny? I'd say it has a solid story all around, or solid characters, and it's very character-focused and character-based around just this young boy and his parents, because it cuts back and forth between them. But the plot itself is very weak. There's not a whole lot of substance to the plot. I mean, it makes up for it by having really strong characters and really funny parts and some pretty good emotional parts. Not as strong as in other Pixar films, but it's definitely there. The only character motivation Luca really has to leave is just he's curious of the surface world and what can happen there. And then later on, it's just because he really wants a Vespa. And no other reason. And I'm not saying every single movie has to be to save the world or whatever, but that's barely any character motivation at all. I mean, the movie makes it work, I think, and it makes it a lot of fun, but as far as greater themes, there's really not a lot there. I mean, there's some later on, very late in the movie, it's kind of an anti-prejudice message, but it's not strong enough that I'd say that's ultimately the goal of the film. And I don't think every single kids movie, or any movie really, needs to have a moral or anything, but it definitely needs to have those greater themes, especially if it wants to be considered a great movie. You know, if it's just fluff or a popcorn movie, like that Resident Evil movie I watched recently, which I'd call very enjoyable, and I think I gave it an 8 or 9 out of 10, because it did what it set out to do, which is basically make an enjoyable experience that captures the essence of the games, right? It wasn't trying to be a great movie, which I feel like most Pixar movies are, and most of them succeed too. But there's the B tier, which I always feel they're trying, and they're almost getting to that greatness that they want to be at, but they don't quite get there. But I would say this is a very enjoyable movie and entertaining throughout. But it didn't do anything better than other Pixar movies have already done, if that makes sense. I did enjoy it, and the characters were definitely memorable. I especially like this part when the mom was like kicking a ball, like a soccer ball, into kids to get them to fall into a fountain because he was checking to see. Because once they get wet, they turn back in their fish form, so she's checking to see if any of them were her kid. But I don't know, just funny. And then at the end, the dad comes up and was like, "Well, none of them were our kid, but I think you won." So that was an amusing part. I didn't really have a point to make with that. Just like, I enjoyed that. I don't know. Like I said in a different video, like movies without those greater themes, they just become something that's like really enjoyable, but not particularly memorable. So I really like this movie, and I'd probably watch it over and over again for a while and not get bored with it. But I also don't think it's going to be something that really sticks with me, even if I do watch it a bunch of times. Not like Finding Nemo or any of the Toy Story movies, or The Incredibles, or Up, or WALL-E, which are all really great movies with really great themes. Like, there's a point to those movies. Well, it's something this movie almost has, you know? It's like almost there. Like, maybe if they just like rework the script just like one more time or something, like it almost has those greater themes, but it's not quite there yet. And though it's fun by the end, it doesn't stand out in any way, which is unfortunate, really, because I really like the themes and I really like the underwater stuff especially, and I think there was a lot going for this movie, but it's also kind of disappointing because I see something that could have been great. It could have been one of the great Pixar movies, but it's just not quite there. That kind of leads into me rating this, so I'll just go ahead and do that. Unless there's anything else that's like negative, really. I don't think so. I already pointed out that the plot isn't really strong, but everything else I think is really good. Probably give this a 7.5. And just leave it there without any other explanation, just because I think I already explained it. Yeah, just 7.5, like kind of very enjoyable, but not quite as good as like the best Pixar movies. So yeah, like and subscribe, and I'll be here tomorrow. Oh, and feel free to suggest any movies or anything you'd want me to review, and I'll try to get around to it as soon as possible.